Nobody warns you about the silence. Not the silence of being alone. You can handle that. The silence that gets you is the one that settles in between you and the people who used to understand you. The quiet that appears at the dinner table when you stop agreeing with things you used to agree with. The pause that comes after you say what you actually think. That silence is the cost, and most people, the moment they feel it, go back. They soften the edge. They laugh it off. They find their way back to the warmth of belonging, because the alternative is just standing out there in the cold, being exactly who you are. Nobody told you the cold would feel this specific. There's a version of your life that was supposed to be easier. You know the one. It was mapped out for you early, not by anyone cruel, but by everyone comfortable. Go to the right place, take the expected path, make the predictable choices, not because those choices were yours, but because they worked. They had worked for other people. They would probably work for you. And for a while, maybe they did. You learned to dress the part, to have the right answer in the right room, to smile when the room smiled, and worry about the things the room worried about. And underneath all of that, quiet, persistent, inconvenient, there was something else, something that didn't fit the script. Maybe it was a direction you wanted to go that no one in your life could make sense of. Maybe it was a way of seeing the world that made casual conversations feel like wearing shoes on the wrong feet. Maybe it was just a feeling, low and steady, that the life you were building looked correct from the outside and felt like a costume from the inside. And you kept waiting for that feeling to go away. It didn't. Picture a woman named Mara, 26, standing in her childhood kitchen on a Sunday afternoon in November. She has driven 2 hours to be there. The meal is good. The conversation is familiar in the way that old wallpaper is familiar. You stop seeing it, but it's always there. And at some point, her mother asks the question she always asks, in the gentle way she always asks it. So when do you think you'll settle down a little? And Mara has heard this question 40 times. She has given 40 versions of a diplomatic, evasive, softened answer. She has laughed and said she's still figuring things out. She has redirected. She has agreed in half measures. But this time, something in her just doesn't move. She doesn't fight. She doesn't perform. She just says, quietly, "I don't think I'm going to, Mom. Not in the way you mean." And the kitchen goes very still. Her mother doesn't yell. She doesn't cry. She just nods slowly, and the look on her face is something Mara has never seen before. Not anger, not disappointment exactly. More like watching someone she loves walk out a door she can't follow them through. Mara drives home 2 hours in the dark and cries the entire way. Not because she was wrong, not because she regrets it, but because she finally told the truth, and the truth cost her something she didn't expect to lose. Not the relationship, not entirely, but a specific version of it. The version where she could still be fully understood. That's the moment most people think they've made a mistake. When the cost shows up in a face they love. They haven't made a mistake, but it is a cost. Here's the thing about the cost of leaving normal behind. No one returns the receipt. You don't get to subtract it later. You don't get to go back to the life you might have had and try it on to see if it fit better. You pay, and then you keep going. And most people, standing at that moment, facing what Mara faced or something like it, they do a calculation. They ask, is who I am worth what this is costing me? And that question is the trap. Because it assumes there's an alternative that's free. It assumes that staying, going back, softening, performing, doesn't also cost you something. It assumes the comfortable version of your life is priced differently. It isn't. The person who never leaves normal pays too. They pay in a different currency, in half lives, in conversations that stay shallow because something real can never quite surface, in the strange loneliness of being surrounded by people who know your face but not the thing underneath it. Both paths cost you. The only question is what kind of cost you can live with. The person who leaves loses some of the ease. The person who stays loses some of themselves. Neither one escapes, but one of them at least knows what they're paying for. And that knowledge, that specific, uncomfortable clarity, is not a small thing. It's actually the whole thing. To walk into your life knowing that you chose it. Not that it chose you, not that you defaulted into it because the alternative was too frightening, but that you looked at the cost and you decide that the real version of yourself was worth paying it. That's not a destination. That's a practice, a daily one. You will lose people. That is not a metaphor. I need you to sit with the literalness of it. There will be people who were in your life, who you loved, who you assumed would always be there, and they will drift, or they will leave, or you will look at each other one day and realize you have both moved in directions that no longer connect. It will happen because you changed, or because they couldn't change with you, or simply because the version of you they knew was a version you've outgrown, and they fell in love with that version, not this one. None of that makes them wrong. None of it makes you wrong. It is just the price of becoming specific. The more precisely yourself you become, the smaller the group of people who can fully meet you there. That's not a tragedy you've caused. It's arithmetic. When you stop being general, when you stop rounding yourself off to fit the most people possible, you become something more exact, and exact things fit fewer places. But the places they do fit, they actually fit. You will trade breadth for depth. You will trade the comfort of easy belonging for the rarer thing, genuine recognition. And there will be days, long stretches of days, when the trade doesn't feel worth it. On those days, you will want to go back. You won't be able to, not really, because you already know too much. You've already felt the difference between a life that fits and one that performs. You've tasted the specific relief of being in a room and not editing yourself, and that taste does not leave you. You're not lost. You're just not where you used to be. So here's where you actually are. You are standing at the far edge of the life you were handed, looking back at something warm and recognizable and no longer quite yours. And somewhere ahead of you is a life that was never modeled for you, that has no map, no arrival date, no guarantee of comfort. A life that will require you to keep choosing it, not once, not in a single dramatic moment of clarity, but again and again on ordinary days when the cost feels higher than the reward and the silence feels wider than you can hold. That is the life on the other side of leaving normal behind. It is harder than it sounds. It is lonelier than anyone will admit. And for the people who are built the way you are, it is the only life that actually fits. You already knew that. You've known it for a long time. The only question left is whether you're ready to stop pretending you don't.